invoking the violet flame and light to her surgery yesterday, which again, Marcia told me last night went well according to the doctors, that things are as they are to be at this point. So we are thankful with gratitude for that taking place. The next thing I would like to do, and this is a more personal thing and I don't want it online, and that is some of you do know that we're in a process of selling Soma Energetics. We have buyers, and it has been a challenging process to do this. And they're coming tomorrow to spend time with us. And I just want us to take a moment to join with me for the highest and best good to take place so we can get this going. It's just been hanging around us for months. So would you just take a moment before we, that's all right, that's all right, just go ahead. Holy Spirit, we just come upon you, call upon you because we know that you're the answer to our questions. You're the answers to our decisions. And we come with asking the best and the highest for all people that are involved, not just the buyers, but the financial people, the company that's selling this, for Tim and I, and all of us, Barbara and Rhonda, who works for Soma Energetics, all of us that are involved. We just thank you. We thank you in advance that this is going to work out perfectly and smoothly, and all is well in the mind of our God and Creator. Therefore, we raise our mind to divine mind, that divine mind might flow through us in these situations. And so it is. Amen. Lot to take care of. All right, we're on. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
To you that are here and to you that might be joining us this morning. What we're doing now as we finish the subject of reincarnation, we're going to just take some weeks in the interim to kind of just do some specific subjects, not a series. That will come. When it comes, I'll let you know. But I'm not going to kind of conjure it up and just decide out of my head what we need. I'm going to wait for Spirit to show up and give us a direction. Now, again, I'm open to your suggestions. I will certainly take them to the altar of my higher self and see if there's a resonance there with Spirit. So in the suggestion box, if you'd like to just put some suggestions on some subjects that kind of interest you or that you would like to see covered. Again, I can't promise I can say yes to everybody and everything, but I'm more than willing to take seriously what your thoughts and desires are. I also want to just take this moment, I'm trying to do this more and more, of not taking things for granted, and not taking for granted for you that are so faithful to show up here and have for the last really several years now of this Wednesday class. Some of you drive a long way, and I want you to know that we honor that for you that come from South Carolina and Mint Hill and different places like that. Most of you do. There's a few from around the neighborhood, but absolutely most people drive kind of a long way. Here's one right here that drives a good distance to come and be with us. So I just want you to know I'm very honored and thankful that you will do that and support this class and keep it moving and going. All right. Well, this Wednesday is a subject that is dear to me, and I hope to some of you. And we're going to go back into Course in Miracles. As you see, Soma Energetics is, the best way I can describe Soma Energetics is kind of a tapestry. I feel like it's a tapestry. There's many threads that make up Soma Energetics, whereas if you go to a specific group, say somebody who is Unity or Science of Mind, and I mean this in no bad way I'm saying, but sometimes when you become something, then you're confined in the teachings, mostly in the dogma of it. because you identified yourself as a so-and-so. I'm not sure how you people deal with out of here when people ask you where you go to church, and I don't know, I can't imagine what you say. I mean, if they ask you what we believe, bless your hearts, it must be a challenge to try to zero in. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I go to a Baptist church, I go to a Presbyterian church, I go to a Catholic church, but to say HeartLight, you know, which thread are you going to follow of the tapestry? So the fact that we are threading together so many different schools of thoughts and not getting caught up in one of them as being an absolute truth, you know, you may come here, we may talk from the Kabbalah, we can talk from the Vedas, and when we talk chakras, we're talking Vedic work from the Middle East, Hinduism. We can be talking from mysticism or Christianity, the Gnostics, the Essenes. We can talk about from definitely Christianity is a part of our language here because it's the most language that needs correction. Don't ask me to throw out language that we need correction in because it takes that language to correct it. That's why the Course of Miracles is in Christian language. It's not promoting Christian language, it's correcting Christian language. So, you come in here, you might hear from quantum physics, sacred geometry. I mean, think of all of the different threads that run through HeartLight. That's what I call it, a tapestry. So all of these, I think, are important. I don't think any one of them is an absolute truth, and I don't think any of these that I have mentioned that are metaphysical claim to be that. I don't think unity claims to be that. I don't think science of mind claims to be that. I don't think that ancient wisdom claims to be that. And I know Course in Miracles certainly does not claim to be that whatsoever. It's very clear that it is not the it. But it's just a process that is a spiritual, psychological process. You know, we talk about bringing body and mind together all the time, but we don't understand a part of that mind is our psychological self. We're psychological people. We're soul people. We're suke people. Remember that? What is suke? Sorry? What is suke? Nobody? What's the Greek word for soul? Suke. Oh, there you go. Why is that important? You say that's Greek to me. I don't care about Greek. Because we get the English word psychology, psychiatry, and anything to do with mind comes from that word, which is also translated soul. So your soul has to do with your mind, your psychological filter, which we could call, in this case, perception. Most of you go through the world every day just perceiving things to be as you perceive them to be. And when you get into the world of perception, you can have a lot of differences because the way I perceive something can be completely different the way you perceive something. So the goal is to get beyond perception. But to get to perception, we need a psychological miracle to happen. A psychological miracle which is defined in A Course in Miracles as what?
An epiphany? Correction?
Anybody? A shift in perception. Say that. Good. Put that in your head, because that is the definition of a miracle in A Course in Miracles, is a shift in perception, shifting from fear to love. for instance, is a moment of a miracle happening, because the minute you get out of fear and perceive things more from love. But get this, even though you're perceiving the right thing, it doesn't mean perception is the right thing you're perceiving. So you want to get on beyond the perception of love to experience love itself. Are you with me? Now we can also use the word belief system. How many people believe in stuff they've never experienced? Most religious people, that's who. You can have a belief in God, you can have a belief in love, you can have a belief in whatever, which is a mental construct that you have, and you can sound really smart mentally because you've done all of the mental work of researching it, looking up, like me. Don't be fooled by me all the time, just because I know Suke and the Greek. Oh, that looks so impressive, he knows Greek. No, that's not where I'm trying to take you. First of all, I'm trying to correct old Christian dogma about the word soul, because I don't think they have it right. They don't even know what soul is. They keep interplaying it with spirit all the time. They think it's the same thing. One of the worst doctrines of Christianity is the immortality of the soul. The Bible doesn't even teach the immortality of the soul. It says, the soul that sinneth it shall die. You can't bring death to something that is immortal. Beware of he that not only kills the body, but he that can kill the soul. How can you kill something that is immortal? So there's a part of the soul that is not mortal, but it is the human part of our mind. So A Course in Miracles, and notice it's not the Course in Miracles. That's important. Now it's referred to as the Course. You can say that, the Course. But to say it correctly, you have to say a course, because it's not the only course to enlightenment. It is a course. Everybody with me on that? That's important in your language. Watch when you call it the course versus a course in miracles. Notice, it's a what? Course. So it's not an absolute statement, but it's a course. The course itself is simple. Now, it sure doesn't look simple, all these pages. You that have tried to read it, it's been anything but simple. But it is simple. The course itself is simple. And here I can sum it up in 3 lines, the whole course. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Here lies the peace of God. That's the course. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Within lies the peace of God. The course is a beginning and not an end. What is so complicated is not the course and what it's trying to accomplish. It's what it's trying to undo. This is us. This is the complication that we have made in the world about who we are, who God is, and who each other is, and who the world is, and who hell is, and who sin is, and what heaven is. It's all in here. We're the ones that have totally screwed up the whole thing of truth. And we've done it in the form of perceptions or belief systems, which has been brought into our dogmas. When things hit a dogma and a doctrine, it is trapped. When a religion passes a doctrine or dogma, it is there. It is not debatable. It is solid. It is written in stone. And that's why you have some of the older religions that's been around for 2,000 years or more, whatever, because they took their teachings and made them into dogmas that were not in any way ever updated or changed or corrected or scrutinized or brought into the light of a present time. So most religious dogma and doctrine takes you back to a past time when it was past. What a great tool of ego to keep you out of the present moment. The thing the ego is the most afraid of is the present moment, in which in an instant you can wake up and see truth, and truth will make you free of illusion. Wow, feel that. It's called the holy instant in the Course. A holy instant is an untarnished instant in which love is established over fear and perfect sanity is restored. Because the scripture says we're living in an insane world. Pretty strong language, but I think you're catching on. Have you tuned the news in lately? It's just getting really more insane all the time, which it is our place to see this as not outside the process of awakenment. The insanity itself, Holy Spirit can use the insanity of the people as a tool for transformation to take place. So I hope that gives you some background to A Course in Miracles. Is a spiritual, psychological system for undoing old dogma and doctrine that has held us in the past and not allowed us to be the now that we are in this moment. So there's so much in here of going. So we're in a world, and I'm more convinced all the time that when we use the word world, that it's even more than an illusion. It could be a delusion. A delusion. An illusion is a distorting of the senses, which can reveal how the human brain normally organizes and interprets sensory stimulation through illusions, distorts our perception of reality. They are shared by most people. Most people out there today is living in the world of illusion. I think something's happening. This happened to me recently. I've been kind of playing with it for a while. I don't know if I have what I'm looking for here, but we'll try. But I think I'm beginning to fully understand more how we can understand what it means to be in the world, but not of the world. So, as I told you, I recently was asked and picked by some of the podcasters out there from England and Australia to be a part of making a 15-minute video on addressing 4 questions, which will be shown around the world by very soon, sometime this month. I'm not sure when all this happens. And see if I can find the first question that we were, at this point in your life, what is your concept of God? Well, of course, you know I have one that I have. And I've asked each one of you to find something, which is a challenge, to find 3D words that are finite to describe something that is infinite with no beginning and no end. It's a challenge to do that. And that's where the world of perception works well for you. So really I could say, how do I, David, perceive this subject or concept of God? I've offered mine to you, but I don't want you to take it because it's mine. Because if you do, you're taking something that has my personal I am signature on it, and you don't want my personal I am. You want your I am signature in it. Take that in. It's got to be your personal I am. And you've got to understand you had to have a personal I am, or how would karma find you, good or bad? If we're all going to just stay one, and the universe goes, well, which one do I give this to? No, each one of you have your own unique, energetic bank account. And what do? You go sign your name so that when they see your signature, remember when we wrote checks would go through based on signatures. Signatures were very big. Most of my life was my signature. That's somewhat changed with technology, but your signature is everything. My poor grandson, 15 and a half years old, hardly can write his name because they're not teaching writing and cursive anymore in school. Sad thing. And Sandra's been very clear with that in her teachings to show us how important it is to connect with the critical mind through handwriting. Don't give that up completely. I still write notes out. I know I'm old-fashioned, but I'm not typing my stuff out. I may give them to somebody else to type, which I don't always do, but I prefer it in my own handwriting. So I spend a lot of time. It takes much more time, but I love doing it in my handwriting. All my books are written in and marked because I want that connection with my I am signature. So the fact that you have an I am signature is what you put out, you bring back to you because of your signature. So if you start taking everybody else's signatures, it gets really confusing at some point. And of course, we know that as what? Self-knowledge. These are classes we've had and had and had. This is all the anti-aging, Gene Davis, that only what you want to drive your cellular development through your belief system is what you've qualified, that is come from yourself, not from another teacher or guru outside yourself. That's what happens that I think gets us in a lot of trouble, is we start taking on other teachers and gurus stuff so much that we lose ourselves in it. And the more we lose ourselves, the more we transfer our power to them, which gives them way too much power over us. This is why I'm not into following someone. There are certain people I enjoy. I enjoy reading Marianne Williams's stuff. I just happen to resonate with her. I love reading Greg Braden's stuff sometimes. I like different people like that. But I'm not a follower. I'm not plugging myself into them saying, oh, I found my guru. So my definition for this is the one that I've given you so many times, that it is a non-local, undefinable consciousness or source energy interacting with itself. And our I am is the higher authentic self it is reacting to. Non-local, what does that mean? It's everywhere. We call it in religion omnipresent. Everywhere present. So you can't locate it. How are you going to locate something? Undefinable, because every time I think I've figured it out mentally, it's never enough. So I just decided to be still and know that it is, and not try to over-define it. I do believe that it is something that has been made conscious out of the field of infinite unconsciousness. And the moment that it experienced being conscious of itself, get this, you are the itself it was conscious of. That's your creation. Your creation is its experience of self-realization. How does it interact? With itself as us. Know ye not ye are gods. Are you with me on that? That means that the non-local, undefinable consciousness cannot work in outer time-space, but through that which holds itself as a mediator between the undefinable and the definable. That's how important you are, and I say that with no ego at all, but with all humility. That's why the Course says that Jesus, and it's clear that they call it Jesus. So again, let's not get into the theological debate there, but that Jesus was the one who started a system called atonement. And Jesus said, I'm going to stay with you until everyone comes out of the illumination or out of the illusion world. I will stand at the end of the carpet of time and wait for the whole sonship to join me until we all go back into the Father together as one.
Amen.
Wow. I stand at the end of the carpet of time. That's why when Yeshua raised its frequency, called the resurrection, out of range. Are you with me? That's all it did. He just went out of range of 3D sensory system. He was there, but I just couldn't see. There's a lot of things right in this room I can't see, but it's there. Because I don't have the frequency to match it. But it's there. It just amazes me to watch wind. You're like, what is wind? I can't see it. I can see where it's been, where it's going, what it's doing. And I love that it's used in the book of John as when you are born again, you'll be as the wind that listens through the tree and go wheresoever you go. So that was the first question. The second question is, explain to us what you believe is the nature of reality. Now, these are not easy things to just come up with. Is it a simulated reality or an organic reality? Where do you believe we sit? Are we sitting in an organic reality or a simulated overlay? Or is it a simulated or hologram? So I'm not diving into that. Spirit gave me something to say. I don't know what it was, but I do believe that I'm beginning to understand why we like to quote things like Shakespeare, life is a stage, and we are mere players. From this stage, we interview others to cast them in our drama. A drama we produce, direct, and star in. Did you know you were drawing people? Even that character that you don't want to think about, that relationship you don't want to think about, that marriage you went through, that horrible divorce you went through, the real truth is you drew it into your life. So let's have there a miracle of shift in consciousness from victim to victory, in that I only draw into my life that which is transmuted into my teacher for growth. I'm giving you an example of a miracle of shift in perception from victim. I married the wrong person. I was abused. I was done horrible. They were unfaithful. What a horrible thing I went through. To I am a victor in that I take responsibility for all that I attract into my life and change it from victim to a learning process of becoming my teacher. Because, thank you, because most of you are where you are because of what you've been through. If my childhood religion, the Lord's had worked for me, I would have stayed in it. If it would have worked, I would have stayed in it and took it as God telling me, this is your truth, this is where you need to be. But because it did not work, because I had a challenge that pushed me to find out for myself answers they could not give me, became the driver that has driven me into the growth that I've experienced.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I've been through some rough relationships, marriage, no different than any of you may have been through. But I look back and I've learned in every one of them. They push me beyond my boundaries. Then collectively, our individual simulated realities create the world as we perceive it. So the world is our simulated world we live in. We're living in much like a program lives in a computer. The world is a computer. That's why I told you I revisited the movie The Matrix after this, because I've seen it a couple times. It's not my favorite movie to just watch for entertainment by any means, but I knew I need to look at it again from a different point of view and understand that this whole thing could be just a game. Now, I don't do games, but I know people love to play games on their computers, especially young people love games. And some of these games are bizarre, violent, horrible games. And people get into these games, and it's a reality to them. To win is a reality. The villain is the reality. Them in it. I mean, they find themselves in the simulated program. So here we are, and I want to say this. Here we are living in riotous living, excuse my Bible, but the prodigal son got in the swine pen and spent all he had in riotous living. I'm tired of spending all my energy trying to fix the simulation and trying to fix the game in the computer when I can all I have to say is game over.
Game over.
Next level.
And that's what's called a holy instant in A Course of Miracles. It is a moment in time in which the shift happens and returns you to sanity. I'm going to tell you this again. Then collectively, our individual simulated realities create the world we perceive it. The whole message of Jesus, Yeshua, was get out of the world. Now, I'll show you how crazy this is if you came from a Pentecostal fundamentalist church like I did, and some others out there who base holiness on how you dress, how long your hair is, whether you got makeup on, whether you women wear hose. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. You have no idea how bad this used to be in these churches, and especially on women. You know, the men wore their tight little suits and their slick back hair and all that, but it was the women that got attacked all the time. I actually went to a church where every month they measured women's skirts to make sure they were not short at a certain length of the church that would make them unholy.
I went to that church.
So that was it was called the doctrine of sanctification. Sanctification is a huge dogma and doctrine in the Pentecostal churches. Whether it's the Assembly of God, Church of God of Prophecy, Church of God in Christ, does not matter. These churches were based upon your moral activity, and your looks was what made you different from the world. Well, that's still going on out there by people who wear certain things. I'm not going to judge, I don't know, but wearing all this garments and all this stuff makes them feel like they're separate from the world. Wrong. Makes you more noticed in the world. So that's not what he meant when he said, come out of the world dressed differently. He was saying, come out of the simulation. Stop the game that is going on in this third dimensional simulation that you are caught in today. In the Matrix, one thing that I did notice was they could always tell when they changed the program, because everything they were experiencing was a download of a program. So I'm going to present this to you. Is education a program?
Yes.
Is religion a program?
Yes.
Is the medical field a program?
Yes.
Is the financial world a program?
Yes.
All right. And what happens every once in a while? Somebody at the top who's making the program comes in and tweaks it and changes it a little bit, and your life feels it every time they change these crazy rules and makes it more complicated to shut you down.
Yes.
Game over. Jesus said, if you will listen to my teachings on an esoterical level, I will give you a way out of the simulation. Oh, somebody help me.
Yeah.
And you want to throw him in the trash can. But be like Sandra and get him back out of the trash can. His teachings. I'm not going to debate the man. I'm just not going to do it. Their own Bible says in there not to know him any longer by the flesh. That's in the Bible. Written in the letter of the Bible, not to know him any longer by the flesh. Because you're missing his esoterical teachings that has been hidden through the ages until now. I can show you all this. This is why he spoke in the parables. Because there was nobody at the level to understand his teachings yet. Oh, somebody help me.
That's right.
There was not a collective consciousness to receive it. That's why he tried to start the church. Oh my goodness. That's why he said the only way this is going to happen is to start an ecclesia, a community, a church, which is the whole thing I've given you about Peter. Who do they say I am? Thou art this one, thou art that one, thou art the Christ. And Jesus said, upon this shall I build the church. Upon this. What is this? Not himself as Jesus or Peter the Pope. So both are wrong there as far as I'm concerned. Catholicism didn't get it right, but putting it on Peter, and the Christians put it all on the man Jesus and missed the fact that Peter and Jesus had an experience that they were the Christ. And upon this shall I build my church. On identity of who you are as the mind of God manifest in human form. So if you want to look for the members of the church, it's those who know who they are across the world today. It's not those who gather in buildings and stained glass and platitudes. It is those who, when it is said, as he said to Peter, who do you say I am? There it was. There was the key in. Because someone said, oh, he's John the Baptist come back. He's Elijah come back. No, this bunch says he's Jeremiah coming back. And they were starting churches. They were starting little groups based upon this one believed this and this one didn't believe that. And that all started. And Jesus said, that's not what I'm looking for, Peter. Who do you say that I am? Why, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. He didn't say you are Jesus, the Son of God. He said you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, why? You didn't get this from a man, from flesh and blood. You got it from your Father in heaven. In other words, it was fathered from your higher self and from spirit. You had an experience. Well, I've had the same experience. Hey, let's join up and be the first members of the church. Born out of an experience of knowing who they were. And that's gone all the way to people getting up on Sunday and coming to church in a building. Instead of being the church, coming to the building. You don't come to the building. That's the church. The church is for the church to come together in community because we can grow faster and quicker together than we can alone and by ourselves. And I'm not getting very far, am I? That's me. The third thing that was asked is, are we sitting in an organic reality or a hologram? Okay, we talked about that. Another one is, where do you believe we are headed as the human race? My answer was, I believe that we're at a crossroads. Either we will evolve or fulfill the sixth extinction of the world, which we are truly in right now. This is why some of your supplies are not on the shelves at the grocery store or the department store. This is why it's taking you longer to get your orders now. Because people aren't taking orders until you ordered before they get the supply, because they don't have the supply until the orders come in. We're experiencing that in Soul Energetics. There is a shortage because the 3D simulated world is disappearing. Yes. Just like someone having a nightmare wakes up and the dream disappears. Now, it may linger a while you wake up and you go, whoa, what a dream was that? You might even go through a period like, wow, that was a really real dream. It seemed very real to me. That was not a good dream at all. But eventually, you'll get through it and you'll wake up and say, oh, it's just a dream. This will happen. I'm going to prophesy to you. By 2045 or so,
Yes.
I don't know why, that comes to me, 2045, you will be looking at this life you're living right now as the dream in a new reality.
Yes, absolutely.
Sickness, disease, aging, prejudice, all these things will be seen as a distant dream as you move into a new state of reality, into a new world of the simulation. What you and I have to do is prepare for that. Until the new age or world or dimension or density or whatever you want to call it, normal and stabilizes it's in, you're going to be in the overlap, which is where you are right now. And here's the thing about it. Being in the overlap is extremely a stressful place to be.
I'm not good at that.
Okay. That's good. I don't know if all of us can say that, but for you that can, so be it. But if you're still dealing with health issues and other issues that you see as lack, then you're still somewhat caught in the overlay position. If you've totally come out of that with 100% trust and connected to your source for everything from food to finance to health to whatever, if you are stabilized in that, then you have crossed over into the land promised you where the milk and the honey flows. So, In order to evolve from Homo sapien to Homo luminous, we will have to work through the fourth dimension polarization we are currently experiencing now. The powers that be do not care which side you choose in this polarization. They just want us to choose a side and keep fighting one another. If we are fighting each other, we cannot grow spiritually, individually, or collectively, and our power becomes disdirected by diversion. Watch what is diverting you. My solution and answer to that was, we need to stand in our truth. The I am with no labels. That will bring us together, collectively creating enough power to transform humanity to the next level. What is it going to be like to be a human being outside the simulation? Because right now the simulation is forming you as a human being. You are the human being you are based on what you've been told you are by all of the different systems. Religion has tried to tell you you are. You're born in original sin. You're this, you're that, you're not enough. Education has tried to form you through its agenda of teachings and whatever. So I ended this with a poem that made the biggest shift in my life back in the late 80s. And because I think we're on the edge of something big. Come to the edge, the voice said. We can't, we're afraid, they responded. Come to the edge, the voice said with great authority. We can't, we will fall, the voice said. So we came, we were pushed, and we did fly. So you're not being pushed to your utter ruin. Don't buy into that. Just because things are ending doesn't mean it's going to stay in the state of ruin. It is only in chaos. It is only in disorder because it's being ordered to be so. And it will become reordered. I had to say all that, I guess. I don't know. So we got a few minutes here, so I want to go back to the very back of the Manual for Teachers. Course in Miracles in 3 sections. There's a text, there's a lesson area, and there is the Manual for Teachers. The Manual for Teachers is one of my favorite parts. In fact, I would tell people to start there and not start with the text. The text will bog you down and wear you out because it is so strong in the undoing of illusion. And you're going to find out, to sit here and say that is not a chair is going to challenge everything in you until you're able to understand the principle behind that statement, that that is not a chair. A chair only lives in my head because that's where it began to be a chair, and what remains as a chair is in my head. Do you think that thing told me it's a chair? I'm telling it it's a chair because the chair comes from me and my perception of a mental download within me. And of course, the more quantum physics makes its more strong debut, the more it proves that things are not as they appear to be. And no longer is it New Age woo-woo, but it is pretty much new physics and new science, that things are boiled down from atoms being the smallest thing to now we know atoms are made of smaller things, and we got electrons, protons, and then we found out they're made of smaller things, and we got neutrinos and we got quarks, and pretty soon we ran out of things completely. And you know what was left? Just little puffs of possibility. Once we ran out of terms and labels, all that was left was consciousness playing with the field of all possibility. So I'll begin this, and we may continue it next week, who knows. This is not a course on philosophical speculation, nor is it concerned with precise terminology. So I don't hear this saying about it's all about he, and I don't care about the language here is because, as I've said to you, it is the language that needs to be done. There's nothing more that needs to be done more than patriarchal language.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm. So the answer is for me not to sit here and debate it and start not liking it. It's using it to correct. So it is concerned only with atonement or the correction of perception. This is what atonement means in A Course in Miracles, a correction of perception. The means of the atonement is forgiveness. Now, Jesus, who's supposed to be the author of this thing, according to Helen Schucman, and I've told you about Helen Schucman. Anybody remember anything about her? What can you tell me about Helen Schucman?
She was an atheist. She was a scientist, and it came to her out of the blue, and she went to someone else and said, "What in the
Very
world
good.
do I do with this?"
She was more agnostic, but more atheist, but agnostic at the university, after a good one, who was Jewish. I find that so many of these things have come through the Jewish people. Maybe there's a reason why there is so much anti-Semitic thinking out there today, because there is a certain gift or treasure in the Jewish community that is very valuable and seems to be very hated by the powers to be. In fact, I think that's where most of your prejudice and hatred comes from, is because the treasure of a certain culture or the gift of a certain people. Native Americans is one of the greatest examples. My goodness, the riches of what they have and have been through and know about our planet and our nature, and how horribly mistreated and to the attempt of eradicating them off the land. And that's about all of us, about all of us. It's not just one culture. All cultures hold some treasure that can contribute to mass integration. That's important. That's why you must embrace diversity. Scottish people hold some deep things. The Irish people hold some deep things. Britain holds some deep things. My goodness, the fact that under that throne of the coronation is Jacob's pillar under the throne tells us of a journey of a people of Israel that journeyed. The tribe of Dan went through and left the Danube River. These things are not named by accident. They're named as a trail of journeys that have been made through cultures. So I don't care what you come from, what your background is, you are a part of a culture that holds an important treasure to the transformation of our planet into becoming, again, one people. That's forgiveness, and I could talk about that forever. Forgiveness means undoing here. It doesn't mean covering up sin. So maybe I will stay with that for a minute. I'd rather just stay with something. And under Judeo-Christianity, or Judaism of the Old Testament, would anybody have any idea what atonement meant?
At one with, right?
Sorry?
At one with?
Well, that's a clever New Age term, which is really clever. Even the fact of atonement. You know, those are play on words, and they're great and they're wonderful. But no, that is not what it means in A Course in Miracles. Atonement. Atonement in the Old Testament was the fact that a high priest could enter in once a year and sprinkle the sacrifice of the blood of goats on the mercy seat, which would take away all the sins of the hundreds of thousands of Israelites for the year. He would atone for the sin. Are you with me? That's why the big story about Jesus shedding his blood and all that ends up under the influence of Judeo-Christianity, not pure Christianity. Judeo-Christianity, because a lot of the Old Testament bled over into the New Testament, that there had to be a blood sacrifice to do away with sin. So that one person would take this blood for the atonement of all the people's sin. But when we entered into the new covenant, from law to grace, Yeshua's teaching was this: for I take away the sin of the world. Old Testament was a cover-up. The blood covered the sins of the people for a year. Through the teachings of Yeshua, it took sin away completely. Are you with me? That's what atonement was. Atonement in A Course of Miracles is forgiveness in the form of undoing the illusion, or what is not a part of truth. Oh, got 5 minutes. The structure of individual consciousness is essentially irrelevant because it is a concept representing the original error of original sin. And I had all that here, but I'm not going to get to it, I see. But I can show you exactly who started this original sin dogma and doctrine, what year it was started in, and it was certainly not a part of the original teachings of Yeshua. It is a church-made doctrine. To study the error itself does not lead to just correction if you are indeed to succeed in overlooking the error. It is just the process of overlooking at which the Course aims at truth. So, I'll stop. Look at my poor book. It's all coming apart. I know it's worn out. I've got many of these, but this is my original one that I have used so much. So let us continuously experience the miracle of shifting our perception from fear to love, from the warrings of the carnal mind to the peace that passes understanding, from depression, anxiety, and discouragement to joy that is exceedingly. These are the things that's in the original creation. Sin is not. If it's not in the original creation, don't give it power, because you'll find the origin of it in man religion. In man religion. And if it's not coming from the nature and the divine principles of creation, you do not want to validate it into your belief system whatsoever. Any questions or statements you'd like to make? How many here? Yes, go ahead.
I've had quite a bit of information coming to me with regards to the illusion and expectations and how these are all, they need to be identified as naming the dragons. But with that also came the reminder that I also need to forgive myself for having gone into these belief systems that have kept me back. And by doing that, it's like inviting grace into our experience.
Yeah. Yes, beautiful. Yes, in fact, I had a great thing I wanted to share with you if I could find it. It says in here, I don't have it right in front of me, but it says, where sin is removed from your mind, heaven is revealed. Isn't that beautiful? Where sin is removed from the mind, heaven is revealed. In that space where sin was, heaven is revealed. Or grace, as you're beautifully saying, in that way. Forgiveness does begin with ourselves. You think in the ego system that as a victim, you have to forgive other people. No, forgiveness begins in yourself, because the power that you have to do the most good with forgiveness is forgiving yourself for the way you perceived it. So I perceived it as my enemy, now I perceive it as my teacher. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And then that extends out there to whoever's involved, but you don't start with who's involved, because the ego always wants to originate something outside of yourself. The power is in yourself. Forgiving yourself is, in a way, forgiving your brother. And then the miracle happens, which is the shift in perception as you move from victim to victor. And you hold on to your birthright and to your inheritance. Anybody else have anything you want? Share. Would you like to continue one more Wednesday, where we're on this? Because I didn't get, let's do it again next, because I really got some good things. I just wanted to share with you those questions because they were pretty heavy questions to consider. But I hope that, well, I don't hope, I know that Spirit came through for me and gave me the best I could do with using words to what it is. Thank you. All right. I guess I had to let you go. I'll just keep you.
I will stay here.
I'll just keep you. You know, I could do this all day long, I guess. I don't know.
We can listen to you all day.
Ooh. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Did we pass the offering? All right. I do want to tell you we made our budget again. Looked impossible Sunday morning, but and I tell you who made the difference was people out there. People in Mississippi, Ohio, Indiana, all over were the ones that kind of filled in and made it up. So let's be thankful for those who are supporting us from a distance, physically, not spiritually. I do want to say to all of you, please do your best. Summer is always a challenging time for every group. Most churches go through a time of smaller attendance, and people do more vacations and do more traveling and whatever. But it's not out of sight, out of mind. Everything keeps going on here when you're out of sight. You know, so continue to support and do that. And I do appreciate so much how you do support this and make it happen. All right, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we'll see you, I hope, Sunday. All right. Remember, Sunday is 4th picnic here after the service. There'll be hot dogs, hamburgers, and all kinds of things here on Sunday. So it might be a good way to invite somebody out because people will come for the loaves and the fishes and the miracles. Thank you so much.